Buenas tardes, estudiantes. Maestra Kimberly, checking in to go over some of the material that we're using in the classwork this week. I noticed after receiving some of your assignments that a few of you are confused about this, so I wanted to make a video and go over it quickly so that hopefully hearing it and seeing it in action will help you when you're doing your schoolwork for Spanish class. So let me go ahead and share my screen with the notes for what we're doing. So I'm just going to give a couple of examples. Now up here at the top, I've put the chart that you have in your book. So it has all of our personal pronouns and the verb hablar conjugated. So hablar is an AR verb, right? And that's conjugated here. And I made all of the endings bold and orange so that hopefully you can see them more easily. So those endings are what you need to learn and memorize for this, and the personal pronouns. Those two things, especially the personal pronouns, because we'll use them with any verb that we need to conjugate, but also those AR verb endings, because most verbs in Spanish are AR verbs. And most of the time we speak in the present tense. So we need to learn those endings. And that's just a matter of memorizing them, knowing that yo, o, tú, has, usted, él, ella, ha, nosotros, nosotras, hamos, vosotros, vosotras, hais, ustedes, ellos, ellas, han. So it's just a matter of memorizing that and you'll be good to go. And the more practice you get, the easier it'll be. So let's go ahead and look at a couple of examples from the schoolwork for this week. So here's one example or two examples of the kind of answers that I've been getting. For example, mi mejor amiga escuchar música. So my best friend, to listen to music. That's what that says right now. What did the student forget here? This is very close to being correct, but this student forgot to conjugate the verb escuchar. So to conjugate, what we need to do is look at the subject. So the subject of my sentence, the person who is doing the action is mi mejor amiga, right? And what personal pronoun would I give to mi mejor amiga, my best friend? And is this a male or a female friend, by the way? That A at the end? Exactly, that tells us it's a female friend. So when I'm looking at that, what I like to do is go to the chart. Now for right now, I'm ignoring the conjugations. I'm not there yet. All I'm doing is first deciding which personal pronoun I'll use to describe this person, okay? So the first thing I like to do is decide whether I'm on the left side of the chart or the right side of the chart. Am I talking about one person or more than one person? Mi mejor amiga. Una amiga, right? There's no S to tell me it's plural, so I know it's one friend. So I'll be on the left singular side of the chart. So I can ignore everything over here. Whoa. Everything on this side of the chart, I can ignore for now. I'm only looking at the left-hand side. Now I go box by box. So in the first box, am I the person that I'm talking about? Am I talking about myself? Because in this first row, I am included in both of these groups, right? Whether it's just myself or myself plus other people. That first row always includes me. In this case, I am not my best friend. So I will continue moving along. When I get to tú, I also have to remember that usted is also you, right? We always want to remember that usted is another way to say you, and ustedes is another way to say you all. But they're grouped over here because their conjugation is the same as él and ella. And the conjugation, ustedes is grouped here with ellos and ellas because the ending is the same, okay? but I'm just going to keep that in the back of my mind. Tú and usted both mean you. So I'll ask myself, am I talking to the person that I'm talking about? So in this case, I'm talking about my best friend. Am I talking to my best friend about herself? I'm not, right? I'm talking to somebody else about my best friend. So I can ignore this line, right? Now we're on to the third box. And this is going to be, aside from usted that we already talked about, in theory, it's grouped up here with tú. But when I look at él and ella, I'm talking in the third person. So I'm talking about someone who is not part of this conversation, right? You can think of this as someone else who's not part of my conversation. So I'm either talking about, I'm saying he or she, or I'm saying they, but either way, none of those people are part of my conversation, right? In this case, mi mejor amiga, I'm not talking to her. She's not part of my conversation. And we know that she's a female, so it would be ella and not él. So now that I decided that mi mejor amiga would be ella, now if you want to put that in parentheses to help you, like I did here, that's totally fine, but you don't have to. I'm just putting it there to help you remember that now. Now I get to my verb, escuchar. I know that's the verb because it ends in AR. So I could start typing that, but wait, I have to conjugate it. So what do I do to conjugate the verb? I'm going to take off the AR ending, and then I have to add the appropriate ending up here. Now, we already decided mi mejor amiga is ella. So my ending will be A. So I add on back down here, I add on an A. And then I can add back on my música. Now, you may have noticed I put the accent mark on here. If you don't know how to write the accent marks yet, how to type them in the computer, that's fine. If you're doing it by hand, I do expect you to write those accent marks and the tilde on the ñ. But if you're doing it on the computer and you don't know how to do that yet, don't worry about it because not everybody's computers use the same shortcuts to do it. So if I tell you the keys that I press to do it, it might not work on your computer. So we'll have to find out what everybody uses and what to do in the future. But for now, just think, oh yeah, that's right, música has an accent mark, but you don't have to worry about putting it on. Okay, so now, mi mejor amiga escucha música, right? Remember, ella is just there for us to help us, but we don't need that in the sentence. Mi mejor amiga escucha música. I have a sentence that says, my best friend listens to music, right? So this was our sentence that we didn't like. So we're going to make that red. That's wrong, right? And this is our correct sentence. Now here I have another example that is incorrect. I used the same example, but it's a different kind of error. This person said, a mi mejor amiga le gusta escuchar música. So they said, my best friend likes to listen to music. And we don't really care for this exercise, whether she likes to listen to music or not. We care about whether she's actually listening to music, right? So we don't need to add in le gusta. We just want to conjugate this verb. So the same thing. It ends up being the same result. But if I were fixing this, I would take out the A, right? I would take out le gusta, and I would conjugate escuchar. Okay, and it would end up saying the same exact thing. Mi mejor amiga escucha música. Or I could even say, if I were talking in a regular conversation, not for this exercise, I could say, ella escucha música. As long as whoever I'm talking to knows who the ella is that I'm referring to, who the she is, then it makes sense and there's no problem with that sentence. Now let's look down here. I have a couple of ideas for the sentences that you have to write on your own. So let's say, for example, I want to say, my dog barks. And I look it up and the word for bark is ladrar. See that AR at the end? That's what tells me that's an infinitive. Now, When you're doing this part of the exercise, let's say you want to say my dog eats. You're going to look up the verb to eat, and it's going to say comer, comer. Comer ends in ER. We don't know those verb endings yet. We haven't learned them yet. So if you're trying to say something and it ends up being an ER or an IR verb, like escribir, escribir, just don't use those. Pick something else to say because we haven't learned this grammar yet. And we want to take this one step at a time because it can get a little tricky if you take it, too much too soon. So let's say I wanted to say my dog eats and I found out comer is not an AR verb, then I can say, oh, well, what else does my dog do? Oh, my dog barks. And that turns out to be ladrar, and that works. Okay. But what do I have to do to make this a sentence? I have to conjugate it, right? Because right now it would say my dog to bark, right? I should really say that in here. To bark. Okay. But I don't want to say my dog to bark. I want to say my dog barks. So mi perro. Now, what personal pronoun would I choose for mi perro? Well, it's only one dog, so we're on this side. I am not my dog. I'm not talking to my dog. So that leaves us with él and ella. Is it a female dog or a male dog? Mi perro is a male dog, so this is él. Right? So if I want to put that in parentheses just to help me remember for right now, that's okay for our grammar exercises, but know that in real life, you wouldn't write that in parentheses if you were just writing the sentence, okay? Just like in English, we wouldn't say my dog, he barks. We just say my dog barks. So the he, the él, we're putting in parentheses just to help you as you learn how to conjugate. So now that I know that my dog is él, to conjugate ladrar, what do I have to do? I have to take off the AR, and then I have to add, let's see, él, the ending is A. I have to add the A back on. All right, period. End of sentence. Mi perro ladra. Now I can take this out even. Now it's a perfect sentence. Mi perro ladra. My dog barks. What else? What if I have more than one dog? And I want to say mis perros. Mis perros ladrar. Mis perros, my dogs bark, right? So if I wanted to say my dogs bark, now mis perros, is that going to be él like it was for here? Like the personal pronoun for mi perro? Will it be él? No, because now I'm talking about more than one dog, so I have to be on this side. Am I part of the group? No, I am not one of the dogs. Am I talking to the dogs? No, I'm talking about the dogs. So that leaves me here with ellos and ellas. In this case, that O tells us that it will be ellos. So ellos, the verb ending is an. See, ellos is here. My verb ending is an. So when I go to conjugate ladrar, I'll take off the AR and add an. Mis perros ladran. It's pretty simple. It's not complicated, but it takes some getting used to because we're not used to doing all of that in English. And when you do, you don't even think about it because you've been doing it since you learned how to speak. Okay? And then last, I wanted to point out one of the reasons why this is actually a really cool thing that we do in Spanish is because see how all of these endings are different for each person who does the action? Okay? So for the most part, we can actually write a sentence like uso la computadora, right? Uso la computadora. Where's my subject? I didn't actually write the subject in here. I didn't say who uses the computer. However, because of the ending, see that O? I can come back up here and see which one has an O ending. That's this one, that's yo. So the only person who could possibly be using the computer in this sentence is myself, I, yo. So this sentence is exactly the same as this sentence. And you don't need to include that personal pronoun or your subject many times. I hope this helped. I certainly hope that you're not having too hard a time with this, but if you are, if you have any questions, just send me an email, let me know. We can even set up a Zoom call if you're not sure about something and you'd like to talk it over. We can absolutely do that. Okay? Adiós, estudiantes.